Hello, my name is Shulamit, and I'm the creator of the MetaSounds process. Every Sunday at noon, I host a Zoom meeting for us to explore wisdom teachings and experience the healing power of MetaSounds. These meetings are made possible by generous donors. Please help this site thrive by liking and subscribing, and please join our newsletter at greatoctave.com to receive notices of our events. Welcome. All right. So I want to remind you, I think I've spoken about it before. There's a Kabbalah story that says that before we're born, we know everything that there is to know. We know about our past and our future. We know about the nature of the cosmos. We know about our task here on Earth. And then when we're born, an angel touches our lips and we forget everything. And that's why you have these two little lines underneath your nose, because that's where they touch you. So most people, perhaps all people, go through life feeling that something is missing, some connection, something. They can't name it. They can't prove it exists. And they're basically told that, it doesn't exist. And it's a fool's journey to go look for it. Some people look for it, and some people don't. But whether you look for it or you don't look for it, at certain points in your life, it moves from the background into the foreground. This is usually in times of crises, when we kind of look at our lives and we say, what are we relying on? What are we putting our energies into? Have we wasted our time? And so on. And we might begin to look for a stronger and a deeper connection. Now, a lot of people, particularly in the current society, divert themselves. There are a lot of diversions around. I mean, you can have your life, you can do your work, you can have your family, your relationships, and so on. But fundamentally, you kind of escaping that, streaming videos, all forms of entertainment. Our politics now is also a form of entertainment. We really have fallen deeply into the desire to be entertained and not to pay attention to the things that maybe count more. We make celebrities into our kings and queens and idols and follow their lives and sometimes neglect our own. We're in a time, and obviously we're in a time of challenge, and we don't know exactly how the future is going to unfold. And it's entirely possible, I might even say probable, that many of the things that we relied on, that we knew would happen in a sequence of the way things happen. You go to school, you study, whatever, you learn a trade, you get a career, and you can work at that for quite a while. Those kinds of calculations may fall by the wayside in the face of AI. And there are, of course, other very critical challenges that we face, and they're all coming simultaneously. So we are in a state of crisis, and people are nervous, and many people are having trouble sleeping, and nobody particularly knows how to prepare. The airwaves are filled with stories of doom and gloom, but not much about what you can do about it. And I think this is where we're really being called upon to remember ourselves. We're being faced now, among other things, among other challenges, with the possibility that machinery is going to be ordering our world. It seems as if AI is taking over the intellectual work in the same way that the Industrial Revolution machinery took over the physical work and made things much lighter for us. Part of that AI is drones that are currently being operated by individual operators, $500 drones against $5 million tanks of the Russians or the, it's spectacular what the drones are doing. but they are being jammed. They can be jammed. And so there's a workaround now in which it's possible, probable, that the drones will take on their own targets and operate on their own. So we're living in a strange world we're not familiar with, and we're losing some of our sense of agency or importance. And the response of many people is to freeze, to be passive, to say, okay, I'll just live my life. This is out of my hands. I can't do anything about it. There are those that have prepared and are preparing physically, stocking food, medicines, and so on. If you're rich enough, maybe you're building an underground bunker. I don't know. These are preparations that I know people are doing, and there's nothing wrong with them. However, you can't prepare for something that you can't anticipate. And what's more important is how you organize yourself internally. How will you get through significant changes? If you panic, if you become passive, if you hand your fate over to, I don't know, machinery, if you hand your fate over to people who claim to be in your best interest but are actually only trying to sell you something, they're either trying to sell you an ideology or they're trying to sell you blue jeans and cosmetics and diets and so on, trying to make you acceptable. A lot of our lives are trying to make ourselves acceptable to some norm that doesn't even make any sense. That's created by people who get paid on Madison Avenue and so on. Why does it matter to come to your center? Why does it matter to get to know yourself and to get really still inside yourself and to become really, really calm? I mean, is it like taking a knife to a gunfight? I mean, what kind of power do you really have? But actually, the power of getting to know yourself and to sit in stillness and in calm is an incredible power because, number one, you can listen, you can hear. You can hear the subtle hints of your environment. You can get guidance from deep inside yourself or from other beings. These things happen. They've been documented. And people can tell you, you probably could tell me that in times of periods of difficulty, you might hear a voice that doesn't seem to be your voice telling you something with some good advice that if you follow it actually helps you. I mean, I know a story of a woman who was escaping the Nazis, fleeing into the forest in Czechoslovakia, she and her sister, and they didn't know where to turn. You know, go right, go left, go straight. I mean, maybe they'll walk right back into the hands of the Nazis. And they heard a voice. It was their mother's voice. The mother had passed. And she said, turn this way, turn this way. And they did, and they were saved. So these stories are not, they may not be common, but they're not uncommon. They're not uncommon. But you have to be willing to hear them. You have to be open to hear them. You can't let your anxiety and your inner turmoil make such a racket that you limit your options. If you can get to learn about yourself and not divert yourself, if you can get, I'm not saying don't ever divert yourself. I enjoy being diverted too, glass of wine, a good movie, whatever, a good book. These things are not bad in themselves. It's when we inundate ourselves with it and hand over our agency to a passive kind of event. Even meditations, which you can hear on, follow gongs or whatever. These are passive events. You need to be active. You need to be active and move away from diversions to actually learn about yourself. Now, people are afraid to learn about themselves. I think probably they think maybe they're monsters or just, I don't know, so boring or something. They don't want to know. But if you can undergo, or if you are willing to learn about yourself, that is to listen to your internal dialogue, to look at your behavior objectively without getting into a circular firing squad of constantly evaluating on an analytical basis why you do things. Again, that's not wrong in itself, but if you really want to get to the heart of things, you have to shut up and watch yourself. You have to watch yourself in the process of doing things that do not serve you. And you can undergo this process. It's like stripping off clothing, you're stripping off identity, you're stripping off excuses, you're stripping off what you do to serve other people, you're stripping all this off and exposing to yourself your unadorned self, your naked self. And this self knows exactly what you want. Now, sometimes we have to do things that we don't want to do. That's certain. We're all grown-ups. We understand that. But it's better not to be tricked and to imagine that if you were thinner or had a bigger apartment or a longer car or a better pension fund or I don't know, any of these things, you would be able to transcend the limitations of yourself, feel connected, and not feel like there was something wrong with you that needed to be addressed. Because what you're really looking for is the connection I spoke of at the very beginning of the talk. You're looking for that part of yourself that is missing. And that part is inside you. Everything that you need is inside you. You have been granted all these different attributes, including the most heavenly and the most mundane. They're all there, but you have to be able to listen and see them. It's an old expression that if you're looking at a mountain and you have your hand over your eyes, you're not going to see the mountain. You have to take your hand away from your eyes in order to see what's in front of you. So a process, and it takes a long time, I have to admit, it takes decades. But it does respond immediately in a very pleasant way, in a way that helps you. When you learn to look at yourself and what you're doing objectively, when you're willing to look at that, you begin to see what it is that you want, and you stop dancing to other people's tunes. And more importantly, you are not swayed by all the garbage that comes to you from the media telling you how to live, how to look better, why a new car can bring you a life that you never imagined. You know, it's like what reading social media. When I read the profiles or the Instagram accounts of people that I know personally, I can't believe these people. They're so perfect in social media. They have such a perfect life. They have no doubts. They have no problems. They have no misgivings. They have no relatives that die. They're perfect. They're perfect. You have to remember that we're human and we have vulnerabilities and weaknesses. And it's much more fruitful to be humble and aware of that. I don't mean false humility. I mean the real thing, which is understanding that you are here as a result of everything that came before you. All the ancestors have built to this point, and you stand before the future when others will take over. And you're here right now, and you are important because you're placed here and you have a role, whatever that role is. Doesn't have to be fancy. And you just have to do that because you're vulnerable. You could become ill, you could die, you could lose your position, whatever. And your ego, which is a dominant force in your psyche, is not going to be able to necessarily help you. Your ego is very good at defending territory and, going after things. But there are circumstances in which it's not helpful. The ego cannot be the main guard, the one who tells you like it is and talks to you about your identity all the time and how important your identity is and what your status is. No, your ego should serve you, not become your master. And you have to learn all these things, and it takes time. But even though it takes time, you will see progress within 3 months on it if you take one issue at a time of something that doesn't serve you and observe it without judgment. All you have to do is look at it and say, I did it again. I did it again. You make a decision to observe the behavior or the thought process, and then you just neutrally say, I did it again. If you do that consistently, you will hear a voice inside you that will tell you why you are doing it. It'll be something simple. Now, in my case, when I wanted to change a particular internal rant that I had that was very, very unpleasant, I discovered with this process that it was really an avoidance mechanism. I was using the avoidance mechanism of an 8-year-old to deal with unpleasantness in my present life. When I realized that, I decided I didn't want to suffer like that, and I just stopped doing it. And the rant went away, and I found another way to handle my desire not to confront a particular issue at that moment. You know, you're in more control than you think you are. So, again, we're in a time of difficulty, which we all know. We do not know how it's going to unfold, but we do know that we will be affected. Maybe a lot, maybe a little. We're all in different circumstances. But to confront that, it is not enough to just take care of your physical needs for the future. You have to rearrange your insides. We're a mass of contradictions because that is how we are formed. There's nothing wrong with you if you're a mass of contradictions. That's how we're formed. That's what people are. But you've got to sort all that out, reconcile opposites to come to inner peace and to the central calm that connects you to a higher reality of which you are a part, which is very sustaining and which allows you to hear and to listen to what you need to do going forward. And of course, becoming calm and becoming aware of yourself has a very positive effect on everybody else that you know and calms them down as well. So I'm going to stop here and begin to make sounds. Relax. Feet on the floor. Thank you for joining me today and being part of our community. I invite you to join us every Sunday at noon Eastern Time for the full live experience. Wishing you a wonderful week, and I look forward to connecting with you soon. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Visit greatoctave.com for more details about these webcasts, our newsletter, donations, and more.